Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had some fun writing that sample JBlog application. And in this lesson, we're going to review that. I'm actually going to walk you through my thought process of building out this sample application. We'll walk through it together. Maybe we'll pick up a tip or a trick or two, and we'll just see, we can compare notes and take a look at it. There's really kind of no wrong answers here. As long as you meet the requirements, then we're good. But let's get to it. So we're going to create a new application here. I'm going to do that, and we're going to call this JBlogs. Let's make a new directory called JBlog. We'll cd into there, and let's say jhipster. So we're going to launch the new jhipster generator here. We're using a monolithic app. We're going to call it JBlog. That's my default package. I'm just going to run through these real quick here. Maven, Angular 4, no. Okay, so our application is done generating. One of the first things I had was a bonus, was to quickly open IntelliJ from the command line, as opposed to opening up IntelliJ and then importing this project. I can actually run IDEA right here in this directory, and it'll open up IntelliJ for me. If you've never done that, IntelliJ makes it really easy to basically create a command line launcher. If you do a quick search for that, it's pretty easy to do. And once you do that, now you can just open it up using the IDEA shortcut. So here we go. It's going to open up, and it's going to dump us right into our project. Okay, and we are done importing our project into IntelliJ, so we can go ahead and get started. I'm going to start the Spring application just by hitting that play button or the run button for the JBlog app run configuration. Again, if you wanted to, you could easily come into Java, JBlog app, right click, and go ahead and run from here as well. So the first task we had was to make some changes to the navigation and the footer. And if you remember from one of the lessons in this section, we know that if we go in and start making changes with just our Spring app running, that we're not going to see these changes reflected. So that was my tip in this section here, was to take a look at that working with Angular and development documentation. And again, we went through this in one of the lessons. So once this Spring app starts here, we're actually going to run Angular. We're actually going to run our yarn command from our terminal over here. And that's going to kick us up another kind of development server for our Angular stuff. So we're going to do that in just a second, and then we should be able to move on and start working on our navigation and footer. All right, so from here I'm going to run yarn start. That's going to kick us up our dev server here. If you ever look through here in these, what it's running here, you can see the actual command that it's running is the Webpack dev server. You can see that it activates a proxy for /API management, etc. So that's kind of how it's working behind the scenes for us. All right, let me just bring this over here. And here is our default JBlog application. So we do have our name up there, JBlog. Go ahead and pull this up. So the first thing that we said was to remove the version number, which is that v.01.snapshot. And we're just going to replace it with a subtitle, a blog dedicated to jhipster. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and minimize that. We'll close this out. So again, all of our web stuff is under our web app directory. This is our Angular application. And we're just going to jump into where we think it is. So again, one of the great things I love about Angular is this kind of component model. I really know where everything is. So I can think of where would like a navigation and a footer be? Well, that sounds like something where layouts would be. And where is a navigation? Maybe in something called navbar. So if we look at the navigation here, and we start to look through here, we can see that there is a JBlog title and then our version number. So we're actually just going to get rid of version here, and we'll say a blog dedicated to jhipster. And if we save that and go back to our blog, we should get a refresh here at some point. So let's jump back here, make sure this is running. There we go. And there we go. So the next thing was, let's do the same thing in the footer. So footer's down here. This is your footer. Again, nothing crazy here, but just making changes. Again, the point of that was to just emphasize how we're going to work on our Angular app in development mode. Okay, so that's it for the navigation and footer. Just a couple of small changes. Now we want to create an entity. So I'm going to come back in here. Let's go ahead and move this up. And I want to create an entity. So I'm going to say jhipster entity. And we're going to go ahead and run our entity subgenerator. Whoops, we need a name. So let's run that again. I'm calling this post, remember? So the entity post is being created. Do you want to add a field to your entity? Yes. So what is the name of your field? Our first one is going to be title, which is a string. Do you want to add validation rules? Yes. We are going to say that it is required. Do you want to add a field? Yes, we do. This one was body. And if we scroll down our list, I think we wanted this to be a, was it a blob? Clob, no? All right, clob. And do you want to add validation? Yes, we also want this to be required. And we're going to add one more field, and we're going to call this author. And this was a string. Now, again, in a normal application, we would probably represent an author as another type of entity, and we'd have a relationship between author and blog post. I really just want to keep this simple, so we're just going to use a string. Again, we want this to be required, and that should be it. So we're going to say no more. Do you want to add a relationship? Not in this case. No, just use the entity directly. No, the controller. Yes, generate a separate service class. We don't need to do that. And then we're going to say no pagination. So that's created everything that we needed to create. We're going to overwrite some stuff. So we were just going to say all. Okay, and we're done. So we're just gonna clear this out. We're actually gonna run yarn start again. And as this is starting up, let's start to talk about what we're gonna do next. So our next kind of task was user registration. So we're gonna register a new user for ourselves, and we're gonna activate that using the administrator. And then we're gonna go in and create a few posts. Okay, so we should be firing back up here. And all right, so here's our home page. If you want to sign in, we can sign as an admin. Don't have an account yet, we can register for a new one. So my username is going to be dvega. My password is password. And we're gonna register. So we know that this user account is not completely activated yet. We know that we need to sign in as an administrator. So we're gonna go admin admin. All right, so we're logged in as admin now. And if we go into our user management, we can go ahead and activate this user. So we're going to go ahead and edit, and we're going to activate them and save them. So now we have this user active. Let's go ahead and sign out. I'm going to now sign in as dvega, and password. We can remember me. And I am now logged in as dvega. So now if we go up to entities, we have a post entity. So now we can create a couple posts. So let's go my first post. This is an awesome blog. So create that one. Ooh. Where is that coming from? All right, well, this is a good chance to do a little fun debugging. Let me jump back over here. Oh, we may need to restart this. I believe we didn't restart this, did we? Yeah, so we made changes to the model, the data model, and that's going to be one of those things that we need to restart for. So I think that's our only issue there. All right, let's give this a try again. I'm going to sign in as the password. Let's check out posts. Okay, now we're seeing an actual data table here, which we weren't seeing before. I don't know why I didn't catch that, but so you will have to restart that. Let's go ahead and create our post now. My first post. All right, let's try this again. Save, and there's our first record. Let's go ahead and create another one. My second post. This time I'm going to put in a bunch of HTML. I don't know if you've probably done some lorem ipsum, basically space text to put into kind of fake posts before, but I actually use something called bacon ipsum, which is a little bit more fun to read. So there we got that. And we're going to have Dan Vega there too. And I'm going to add one more, my HTML post. I'm going to copy that same stuff in there, but we're going to add a quick little, let's say, make this strong. And we'll save that there. So we were able to go ahead and add some new posts as us. We created that new user account. We went in as an administrator. We activated it. After that point, if you came across the same issue, you'll need to restart the Spring Boot application because we generated the Spring entity on that side, and that needs a restart to take effect. So, and then we went ahead and added a few in there, and one of those, our third one here, we added has some HTML in it, and that was kind of one of the bonus things. Like, all right, well, if we add some HTML, what's happening? Does it display the HTML correctly? And you can see in our third one here that it's not displaying it correctly. And the reason for that is because we're just using string interpolation there. And when we do that, it's encoding the HTML for us. So we can actually get around this using property binding, and let's walk through that real quick. So let's get out of here. We're going to go into our entities folder because that's where our post is. And then in our post, we are looking at, what view are we looking at here? So we are looking at just the list view, and this list view is showing us that right there. So let's come in here and post. Is this where we're looking? Yeah. So post author body. So as you can see, we're just using string interpolation right here. So if we took this out and actually use some property binding. We want to use inner HTML, and we'll just say post.body. Now we shouldn't have to change anything. We should be able to just see that take effect. That looks like it went through good. Let's come down here. And now we see that it's actually using the HTML instead of just the HTML escaped. So that was one of the bonus ones. And then finally, it was to come to our home page here. And let's get rid of this and display some posts like we would normally see on a blog. And so there are a couple ways that we can do this. So again, going into our Angular app, we don't know where that is, but home seems like a good place of where the home HTML and TypeScript files would be, and they are. So the first thing we want to do is go into our TypeScript file. And all this stuff that's going on in here right now, we probably don't need because, well, let's see, login, probably keep that. Authenticated in case it does need that. Well, I think the view just uses that anyways. Let's just get rid of all of this for now. So we're gonna get rid of all of this. We don't need any of these, which means we don't need this or this. What did I just get rid of? All right, let's get rid of that. So now what we need to do is get a list of our posts. And again, I said you don't have to do this from scratch. If you go into entities and look at the post service and look at what entities was doing to lay out those posts, it should be pretty clear. So in this case, we're just going to get a list of posts. So we'll say posts is equal to an empty array. And then we'll say constructor private post service, so we'll need that. And again, that's another reason I love the IntelliJ as opposed to, I know a lot of people use a couple different things, one of them being Visual Studio Code for Angular development, but I love the automatic imports you get from IntelliJ. It's just a very familiar environment for Java developers. So that's one thing I love. So the next thing we're gonna do is, I'm actually just gonna copy some in here so you don't have to watch me type. And this I kind of just pulled right from the entity stuff that was already there. And what it's gonna do, let's just fix this up. That, yeah, that looks good. So all this does is on a init, we're gonna load all, and this load all is going to call out our post service, which again already had that method there for us to get all of our posts. So we're gonna query out, we're gonna subscribe to that result, and when we get it, we're going to set this.posts equal to our response.json. And if there's an error, we'll just log it out. So that's our home component, our TypeScript file. Then what we're gonna do is kind of come in here and rip out a lot of this stuff. So this, basically, we wanna just replace everything that's in here. So I think we'll go like that, right? And then let's go ahead and let's go H1. That'll give us that. All right, so let's say div. We're gonna loop over let posts of posts. Give us what we need. Do I have an extra div in here somewhere? No. Div. That's weird. What am I missing here? All right, we'll come back to that in a second. So then what I want in here is just an h2, and inside the h2 we'll do post.title, and let's go inner HTML. again, we want to display the HTML, not just the string that's pulled from the database. So we'll say post.body. And could say something like, all right, so that should give us that. Okay, that's what's going on. Post of posts. All right, I think that should be good. Let's see if anything's complaining. Doesn't look like it. Go back here, and there we go. So there's our welcome to JBlog, and we have my first posts, this JBlog written by, and then we're even displaying our HTML here in our third post. So again, not the most exciting application to write, but it does go through a couple of the things that we've learned so far, and we're going to start building on this. So if you have any questions about this sample application, please let us know. But let's take what we've learned, start building on that, and we're getting closer and closer to actually building out a production style application, which I'm excited to work through. So with that, let's go ahead and move on.